Hey guys, and welcome back to a new video. Today we'll be recapping a few tournament runs that have happened recently, and some of the most unique teams that have came out of Monterrey, Frankfurt, Pittsburgh, and the latest Victory Road tournament. I haven't been able to recap all the recent tournaments recently, and I just wanted to showcase some of the most unique teams because I felt like there's regulation is so vast and there's just so many teams to cover, but there are definitely some that definitely stick out. For example, Blaziken. Blaziken, if you guys didn't know, just run the latest Victory Road tournament. And this was by Lucas here, and this is a pretty big tournament, right? 178 players, makes it a very big grassroots tour. And yeah, let's talk about it. Blaziken is, not a Pokemon we see every day. It's not even just Blaziken, right? This team also has Excalibur and Primarina. Pokemon that are not very common. Like, we have seen these Kingambit, like the Buzz, Rillaboom Core often, and even Primarina, but Primarina is usually not often choice specs. Michael Kelch has had a lot of success with Citrus Berry Prim, but this is the choice specs with this Kingambit Balance team here, which is very, very interesting. But yeah, Blaziken is very unique in its own way. It gives you a Fire, Water, Grass core with a team like this. Also funny that the Fire, Water, Grass core is made up of the starters here. But yeah, fire damage, as I mentioned in my team report, is very, very good in this format, right? There's a lot of Pokemon that are weak to fire, some of the top steel types. Like, the combination of, the fire and Aura Spear here, right? Like, fighting coverage, you can pin all the main steel types in the format. Goldango and Kingambit, all weak to fire. Also Kingambit itself, also weak to fighting. And you also hit Archaludon for a lot of damage. I think that's why they also decided to get a special attacking Blaziken instead of a physical attacking one, because you get to punish some of the common Pokemon like Arch, who often carries Assault Vest, and Pokemon like Incineroar, who often Intimidate. You can hit harder for a Spear, right? And special attack set's actually pretty good as well, right? But yeah, the reason why they would have Blaziken on a team like this, not just because of the coverage, it also has the ability Speed Boost. So with Speed Boost, you get faster every turn, and at +1 speed, Blaziken can outspeed a lot of things in the format, right? Faster than +1 Dragonite after Scale Shot, right? And this allows you to get guaranteed coachings off as well, not just the fast attacks. You have a lot of Pokemon that benefit off coaching, such as Kingambit and Excalibur would be the main ones, right? So you can coaching before the opponent can move, which just makes your Pokemon a lot stronger and bulkier, right? So yeah, I think Blaziken is actually a really cool Pokemon in this format. Coaching you usually see with Sneasel itself, but yeah, Blaziken's unique typing and ability makes it a threat to reckon with. And I also bet these Terrify Heat Waves hit like a truck too in the right scenarios. So yeah, really, really cool Pokemon to see have won a big grassroots tournament here. Kingambit, very straightforward. It's just Terra Dark, just for that maximum damage. And a little bit speed investment. I believe that they add a little bit speed just so they can use Electabuzz from Electabuzz here. I'll also note this is actually just the creator spreads as well. Sometimes I recreate teams, but the creator here who won Victory Road posted their team after they won the tournament. So shout out to them. Excalibur, also again a really great user of the coaching. Excalibur is a little bit different than Dragonite, right? Dragonite usually has more utility moves like Tailwind and Haze, but this back set still to loaded dice like Dragonite, but you're just meant to hit as hard as possible and as many things as possible, right? What's neat about Bax as well is with its speed stat, you are faster than Adamant Dragonite, so you can KO it before it can move with Spear or Scale Shot. Max speed is really nice because again you're faster than Dragonite, you're faster than a lot of the modest Goldengos, and another neat thing is you're faster than Dragapult after Scale Shot boosts. Dragapult itself is actually faster than Dragonite after Scale Shot, so Bax being able to do that's pretty cool. Electabuzz, this is pretty straightforward on these Kingambit Balance teams. It's usually either Electabuzz or Magmar. Buzz makes more sense because our fire type is taken over here. And yeah, it just gives you strong utility with a combination of Follow Me and Taunt to protect your Pokemon and stop stuff like Trick Room. And Electabuzz gives you reliable speed control because the only really speed control you have in the team besides Buzz is Speed Boost and Priority. But Electabuzz has like a lot of cool combinations you have with either Electabuzz plus Kowtow Cleave, or Electabuzz pairs really nice with his Primarina here, so Primarina can move a lot faster, right? Rillaboom here, basically mandatory on Kingambit comps just because it just gives you Fake Out plus Setup. It also gives you ways to overwrite Psychic Terrain because you have a lot of priority in this team. You want to beat Psychic Terrain with this Grassy Surge here, right? So very straightforward. And Primarina, one of the more unique sets on this team. It's also Terra Fairy, which sounds really strong. I really do bet Terra Fairy Specs Moonblast has some really good 2-hit KOs or 1-hit KO potential, right? So this is a very strong Pokemon, and it's just max speed. This probably gets a creep on a lot of Incineroars, right? Even the faster ones, even outspeeding some of the slower Rillaboom's here. So yeah, a very strong Pokemon here. I actually think Primarina is a little bit underrated in this format currently. Like, it had a lot of success earlier on, but it also just made finals at Pittsburgh, right? And I think it's for good reason. Its Fairy Stab is very good in this format, and it just hits like a truck, right? So yeah. Next here, we have Pengy's Monterrey champion team. And if you guys didn't know, Scyther and Garganacl did win a regional. This was in Monterrey, Mexico. And Pengy here was able to win the whole thing. Yeah, it's a little bit an orthodox team, but Pengy himself has been using this since the last Runner Excellent Age. A lot of spreads I actually kind of took from his old team. I believe that he had Instant before. I took his Instant spread, and I took his Garganacl and Goldengo spreads from his old team report. And yeah, Garganacl is probably the star of the show here, right? I mean, I know Scyther is here too, but this team is built around Garganacl, right? The combination of Garganacl plus Ninetales makes this Pokemon very, very hard to KO, especially with Meringue Berry. I think a lot of people still don't know what Meringue Berry does. Meringue Berry, it raises the holder's special defense by 1 after it gets hit by special attack. And this is really nice too, because you have not the highest special defense stat, but you're on a Careful Nature, plus a Meringue Berry, plus Underveil. Nothing is killing his Garganacl, right? And you also intimidate support to make physical hits a lot weaker in this thing. And this allows you to kind of stall out Pokemon with Salt Cure, right? Salt Cure adds up over time and does 1/4 damage on Steel and Water types, which is really, really nice. And you also have Rocks to punish defensive play. Rocks is kind of cool in this format, right? Because there's a lot of Pokemon that are weak to Rocks, like Dragonite, so you can break multi-scale, and a lot of Focus Sash Pokemon like Opposing Ninetales and Opposing Sneasler, right? So this is a really cool set. And I want to talk about the Goldengo here too, and Instant. Goldengo and Instant are really nice on a team like this because you force a lot of Water Terras, right? The most common Goldengo type Terra is like Water, right? But if you force it to Terra, it's always weak to it. Also, Goldengo stays a Steel type, it also stays weak to it, right? And there's also a lot of common Water Terra Pokemon in this format, where Salt Cure will add up, and you have a lot of pins on this with combination Goldengo and Incineroar. Goldengo on this team adds a lot of speed, which is quite nice because the rest of the Pokemon are a little bit on the middling end, and it makes Goldengo a really good revenge killer, especially after Salt Cure damage adds up. Sylveon, one of the more unique Pokemon on this team. It's kind of funny. Pengy said that Sylveon wasn't very good, and it did carry his final set, and he did replace it with Dozo at Pittsburgh. But all I'm going to say is Sylveon did do better in Monterrey than in Pittsburgh, because he had Dondozo and it finished worse. That's all I'll say. This set here is EV to live Jolly Direclaw from Sneasler. You also Terra Poison to take the hit all way better. Their combination of Hyper Voice and Yawn's really nice just to have like really good pins. Like Yawn is really cool at forcing swaps, and you have Self Rocks to punish swaps, right? So that's kind of that whole combo. And that's kind of the same logic why he had Dondozo over that slot as well, right? Basically, this slot here, Sylveon or Dondozo, is meant to beat Kingambit Balance. Dondozo, unaware, can wall out Kingambit, its attack boost. And Sylveon's natural bulk and typing versus Kingambit allows it to resist it and deal big damage with Hyper Voice. So yeah, pretty cool tech here. I think it's going to be dependent on matchup. I'm guessing Dondozo did something's better for him. That's why he swapped at Pittsburgh. But I still think Sylveon has its own uses here. Scyther, also very unique Pokemon. It's kind of the main talk actually of this team, even though it's mostly a matchup dependent on. But I still think it's really cool for what it does. This is Scyther's first regional win, and this set here is EV to outspeed Annihilate. I think that's the whole purpose. I heard talk from Pengy that Scyther here can KO Annihilate before it can move, especially the Focus Sash sets, right? With Dual Bit, you hit twice, so we ignore Focus Sash completely, which is really nice. This also makes it pretty good into like side spam teams. Dual Wing Beat is able to kill Sneasler. You also have U-turn to kill a Needy, and Terror Steel means you resist stuff like Expanding Force as well. So not bad versus Sneasler at all, and a Needy, female or male. And yeah, its coverage of U-turn and close combat is also very strong. Scyther can't really hit Steel types for much, so close combat gives it pressure on that. And U-turn's good for pivoting into some of your bulkier Pokemon like Guard or Instant here, right? So yeah, very cool anti-meta Pokemon. It's not very splashable, but I think for Pengy's team, it makes sense for what it does, right? Ninetales, we mentioned earlier what it does. It gives you weather control and just Aurora to make your Pokemon way bulkier. And yeah, it gives you a solid rain matchup as well. Instant, One thing to note is Terrafire. Terrafire, it was meant to beat Volcarona more reliably, because the rest of the team is a little bit weak to Terra Fairy Volk. So that's pretty cool. It also gives you more bulk and fake out pivoting, right? So yeah, very, very good on this team. First team we have here, we have Matt Tidd's finalist Pittsburgh team, and this team is insane. I don't think I've ever seen an Hariyama before in Scarlet and Violet that did this well. And yeah, it's got its first finals appearance here. I think Hariyama is definitely the most interesting part of this team, mainly because of there's definitely other fake out and trick Pokemon we have seen that have done well, but Hariyama has seen like 0 usage. But Matt himself has actually been using a similar core to this, the last Runner-Back H, where he finished, I believe, top 32 of Toronto with a very similar team. So really cool for him to have a really good finish with some comfort here. And yeah, let's talk about it. Hariyama with Assault Vest and Thick Fat, I'm sure it was a lot of different good Pokemon, right? Thick Fat makes it really good versus Sun and Snow, right? You take way less from Blizzard, way less from Heat Wave, right? And AV2, yeah, about that. And with Fake Out here, it allows you to lead with Sinistcha to get guaranteed Trick Room up, and then you can attack with Hariyama in Trick Room and spam Matcha Gotcha, or in Trick Room as well, you can set up Calm Mind with a Sinistcha here, which is really cool. Going over to Sinistcha, of course, this is a very unique set because Sinistcha's most popular ability is Hospitality. For some reason, it is Heat Proof here, but I guess it makes a lot of sense because a team like this might be too weak to Sun, right? So with Heat Proof, you take way less from fire damage, and it also allows you to get guaranteed Trick Room up because you have Mental Herb, because this is a pretty hard dedicated Trick Room team or Tail Room team here. You have a Trick Room mode with Sinistcha, and you also have a Tail mode here with Volcarona, which is very unique. What's also really unique about this Sinistcha is it has Calm Mind. Trick Room, Machagasa, and Strength Steps are pretty straightforward moves on Sinistcha, but with Calm Mind here, it actually makes this a very reliable setup sweeper, which is really, really cool. Kingambit's another setup mod on this team, but there's something off with Kingambit, right? It has Iron Head, Double Dark, Swords Dance, and No Protect. Usually, No Protect Kingambit would run Assault Vest, but here it's just dedicated to sweeping. With the free moves of Stab here, right? Take Goggles makes it a really reliable answer against Among Us and like Jump Bluff and such. And I really do like Terra Ghost and Kingambit here because I think Terra Dark gets pinned too often, and Terra Ghost allows you to take on Sneasler a lot better. So pretty cool set here. I'm not so sure why exactly it's Iron Head. Like maybe some Terra Fairy Pokemon gave too much issues, because I do think Protect would definitely helped it in that final set. But Tid's showing that he's got to keep attacking Kingambit and you can easily win with it, right? So it clearly does work in its own way. So yeah, very unique set here. Also the EVs I have here were based off his Toronto pace, which he did post on his Twitter. So yeah. Volcarona, also unique set on his team because it's the Clover Cloak set with Tailwind. The most common Volcarona set in this format is Quiver Dance, Terra Fairy Blast. But yeah, Volcarona here gives you a Tail Room mode. So in games where you don't want to lead a Trick Room, you can lead with Tailwind Volcarona, plus a fast attacker like the Specs Primarina here, or Power Herb Arch, right? It has a unique set of Rage Powder, Struggle Bug, and Flamethrower, so it gives you a strong support option with Speed Control, or a strong Redirector here, which is really cool. Terra Steel, I think, is primarily just for Scale Shot Dragonite, and maybe even Population Bomb Mousehold, which is really cool. Actually, Population Bomb Mousehold would make a lot of sense, right? Because if they ever hit you, that Flame Body has a really high chance of proccing, right? So that's a kind of cool idea. Arch here, Arch has kind of proven itself to be one of the best Pokemon in this format. Obviously, because Tid does not have Rain here, the Power Herb set makes a lot of sense, right? Just as a really strong Tailwind sweeper. Primarina, again, our second Primarina we have on this list, and it did win VR and also made finals here. I think Primarina is definitely severely underrated in this format, and as a fast, strong attacker with choice specs, it hits really, really hard. The typing of Fairy 2 is really, really good in this format because you beat up some of the strongest Pokemon, such as Dragonite, right? So yeah, really cool team by Tid here. Our fourth team here, we have William Brown, and William Brown here is probably the best Greninja player. Greninja has got its first top cut in Scarlet and Violet at Mexico, where he finished top 8. He also achieved day 2 at Pittsburgh at this by beating Nicholas Donnelly on stream. So yeah, this is a really cool team. For the most part, it's a standard Arch Rain team, right? We usually see Basc HO, Arch, Sinistcha, Pelipper on a lot of different teams, but what makes it unique is you have Greninja. And Greninja has priority, right? Priority Water Shuriken with loaded dice can hit 4 to 5 times, and that is really good at self-proccing some Pokemon, such as Archuludon or Annihilate. You have Water Shuriken to make Rage Fist stronger, and you have Water Shuriken to get stamina on Arch to make Body Press stronger. So very cool utility with that. And you also have really fast Rain Dance to win Water Wars versus opposing Water team. This means you can Rain Dance with Archer on Basque Legion and not worry about losing the Weather War with Pelipper in endgame, right? So yeah, Gren has a lot of cool utility. It's also fast and scissor by a few points. That's why I made it 244 here. And I gave it enough bulk to take 5-hit Scale Shot from Adamant Dragonite. Very cool set here, and it's really cool to see Greninja do some work. Annihilate is your classic ape set. This is the standard support ape set with Taunt and Final Gambit. And yeah, 188, you can kill most of the Final Gambits, and then some attack for dump because, again, if you ever self-practice up Water Shuriken, you want Rage Fist to hit as hard as possible. Pelipper for the whole Rainbow team, very straightforward set, max modest. The main difference is actually Wyguard. You usually see Tailwind on comp like this, but Wyguard's really good utility, right? There's a lot of spread boost in this format, so Wyguard does make a lot of sense still. Arch, not much to talk about. It's just your standard Arch set. I just made it modest, just because you can hit hard with E-Shot with it. I think Bold could also make sense, but it's not Terrafighting. I know that's what kind of like the Elizabeth teams like to run, the stealth proc, but I think that it isn't really needed here. You also can hit really hard. Also use it in Trick Room too if needed. Basque Legion, standard stat, not much to talk about, but it's just a really good rain abuser, right? One of the best Pokemon in the format. And Sinistcha, because you have a setup-oriented team, I think Sinistcha makes a lot of sense, especially when you self-proc yourself Water Shuriken. Pure self-backup Hospitality also gives you speed control because you don't have Tail and a Pelipper here. So yeah. The 5th team we have here, Joe Ugarte Sun. This team has had 2 finals, and I feel like it's a team that is definitely slept on because only Joe can play it, but I also think Sun is really good in this format. Now, he kept talking about how Sun would have been really good in that top cut here at Pittsburgh, and I do agree. I think Sun, with the right bracket, can easily just win. We've seen that with Marco at LIC. We've seen that with Joe almost at his 2 regionals he's almost won before, right? It's just a very, very strong archetype if you do land your moves and have the right bracket for it. I based this off MDB's recreation, but made some slight changes. Like Dragonite here, standard max admin set because it's my preferred one. Ice Spinner here is really good for removing terrain, especially from the hard choker matchup. As you see here, this team has no terrain control outside Ice Spinner. So being able to remove second terrain on DD teams is very, very valuable to beat hard choker room. And also in DD male plus Sneasler combos, right? Torkoal, highlight of the team because this is a Sun team, right? As you can see here, Torkoal has a lot of speed, and this is really important. So you can outspeed basically every Among Us and also outspeed things at Tail with Torkoal. So you get the guaranteed jetpack, right? A jetpack is really nice to get repositioning with a team, so you can get in Typhlosion for free, etc. Jump Bluff, also really strong with this team. Commonly, the teams either Jump Bluff Torkoal or like Jump Bluff Typhlosion, right? And just so you have that fast Tailwind support, right? And also faster with everything with the Drought plus Chlorophyll combo here, and also fast Sleep Powder. That's the main thing Jump Bluff likes to do. If you ever connect Sleep Powder, it can potentially be game losing for your opponent. It is very, very valuable. One thing to note though is that this Jump Bluff has Leaf Storm, so Leaf Storm is really nice at pinning Terra Water Pokemon. As you can see, this team doesn't have any ways to hit Water types overall, and Leaf Storm pairs really nicely with also the Assurance King Gambit. So if you hit first with Jump Bluff and it connect and Assurance hits after, it doubles in power here, which is really cool with Assurance. And you have a lot of ways to get a good double ups, so King Gambit gets double power with Eruption, with Leaf Storm here, with Earthquake, etc. Right? As you see, this King Gambit is very, very fast. I know that these teams like to run fast King Gambit because you have Tailwind, and this King Gambit here can outspeed Sneasler and Tailwind here. Terra Flying is really nice with that Garchomp combo. So again, you can also go for Earthquake, Terra Flying, Assurance, and get a lot of knockouts with that. Typhlosion, also probably the most unique part of this team as well, because most Sun teams have like Charizard and such, but Joe himself has been very hyperfixated on his Typhlosion here, and this is because of Eruption. There's no other really strong fire type that gets Eruption in this format besides Torkoal, and Typhlosion is the best fast user of it. I think Timid is required because you want to be outspeeding Timid Goldengo, and you already make up the power with Sun and Helping Hand, where you don't really care about Modest, right? Because the speed is pretty important. Next on the list, we have James Evans' top 16 Pittsburgh team. This is also based off the rank 1 kart season team. This also did really well in the GC from Swamp here, got top 17 here, and it's based off a Japanese player here who got rank 1 on the kart season. I don't think they actually posted it here, but this is their Twitter. And yeah, very strong team. Being able to win a kart season and get top 16 at Pittsburgh shows that strong best of 1 teams do fit in best of 3 environment. This is also because Aaron Zhang used 5d6 Pokemon to almost top cut Monterrey with a top 16 record as well. So yeah, very strong hyper offense team, and it has some unique pieces, right? Sash Basc HO is a Pokemon we don't see often, but it did just win Pittsburgh. The idea behind this is that you can spam Last Respects more because Basc HO is a very frail Pokemon, right? You also don't need Swift Swim here because you have Tailwind support here. And just Tailwind, Icy Wind means you don't have to utilize Swift Swim and you just hit way harder Last Respects, which allows you to endgame a lot of teams because you have a lot of frail Pokemon here, right? A common Leo this team would be Whimsicott plus Fast Special Attacker, and then Basc HO in the back can kind of clean up, right? What is unique about this Whimsicott as well, it's Taunt and Fake Tears, no Encore. But I think that makes a lot of sense because Taunt can shut down Trick Room stuff, which this team is probably weak to, and Fake Tears pairs really nicely with Arch and Goldango. Pelipper here, just for that weather support, also just to have that Electric Shock combo once you consume Herb. And Choice Scarf is an item that's been more common on Pelipper recently because sometimes you want Focus Sash on another Pokemon, and Pelipper here, fast Hurricanes and fast Icy One's really nice to support the rest of the team, right? Herb Arch, not much to talk about. It's just a really strong in its current format. Terra fighting Goldango is probably the most unique part of this team. Terra fighting gives a very playable matchup into King Gambit. I think a team like this can be King Gambit weak, but with Terra fighting plus you have immediate pressure. You're also pressuring a lot of strong normal types in this format, such as Ursalunas, which is really nice because they can't be hit by Last Respects. You remove the normal types, you clean out Last Respects in endgame, right? Incineroar was James's changes to this team. The original team that Aaron and the Japanese player had was AV Blood Moon, but AV Instant allows for better pivoting. It also gives you a better side spam matchup. I think a team like this not having a Expanding Force switch in was kind of bad. Now Instant gives you that good utility. Next on the list, I have Carrier's top 4 Frankfurt team, and this is Espathra, right? Espathra is not a Pokemon we see often, but yeah, the highest placing I think we ever seen from Espathra in Top Cut was right here. And what's unique about Espathra, similar to Blaziken, is Speed Boost, right? After Speed Boost, you become a very strong special attacker, and with a combination of Psychic Surge and Helping Hand, these Expanding Forces do a lot of damage, and even Terra Psychic, right? It's probably some of a lot of KOs you can get. And you absolutely everything in the format. That's kind of the general idea. Because I think side spam teams, they often struggle with general good speed control, and this allows Espathra to be in better win condition with the speed control here with Speed Boost, and also Follow Me to kind of protect it out more often. You have a classic with a Sneasel here, pairs real nice with the second terrain because I'm Burden. And yeah, I think Sneasel is kind of mandatory on these side spam teams just because it can hit the things that Espathra can't hit. You have that fighting dark coverage that Psychic can't really hit sometimes, like you can't hit steel types. Sneasel does that very well for you, right? Hydreigon, I think, is really funny here because it is Safety Goggles and Taunt. Usually you see Tailwind on some kind of these teams, but with Safety Goggles and Taunt, you completely shut down Porygon Ursaluna teams. They can't Sleep Powder or Spore you. You can taunt around Rage Powder to shut down Trick Room, and you also wall Ursaluna. You have Levitate and Terra Ghost, so you're immune to Facade and you're immune to Earthquake. So I found that really, really cool. Arcanine, I think, is pretty cool in a team like this because, again, you want more ways to pressure Steel types for your Espathra, right? You also have the Mirror Herb here to also beat Dark types, mainly King Gambit, so you can copy the boost from Defiant and kill at close combat. So yeah, Arcanine Hisui is just a really strong Pokemon in this format. I think that it's severely underrated, and you know he made it work here. I also made it work on my my Pittsburgh team, right? It's really a good Pokemon in this format, in my opinion. King Gambit, I think, is kind of weird on a side spam team because you block your own Sucker Punch, but I think it's probably matchup checking for some Pokemon like Goldango. I think that Sneasler, even with Rochop, can sometimes struggle versus Goldango. Having King Gambit as a reliable swap in to make it rain makes it a lot easier to sit in front of it and deal big damage to it with Kowtow Cleave. So yeah, that is his team here. Next, we have the Nelson Bros top 8 GC team. This also was rank 1 the BO1 ladder for Showdown, and he also finished top 16 Frankfurt with this team. So again, this is another strong BO1 team that has translated to BO3, which is why I want to talk about it. It's also severely underrated because it has some unique Pokemon like Zoroark Hisui. I think Zoroark is not a Pokemon we see often in this format, and what makes this really, really hard to deal with is you have a lot of normal types, right? Zoroark is a ghost type, so you can disguise as one of the normals and not get hit by close combat, which is really nice with Ursaluna here, right? And you also have Icy Wind, so you have dual speed control with Trick Room here. So sometimes you have to cover for Trick Room, but you also have to cover Icy Wind with disguise as something like Sinistcha, right? So I bet a common lead with a team like this is you disguise Zoroark as Sinistcha here, and you pair up Ursaluna that's fast, and you just click Icy Wind immediately and attack with like Terranum or Blood Moon. So a lot of mind games that Zoroark forces, and you have the mind game with the Zoroark, you have the mind game with the Trick Room lead, and you have the mind game with the Annihilate plus Maushold lead, right? So Zoroark as a Pokemon has really good support kit with speed control, but also allows that whole mind game illusion, which makes it really, really strong, right? This is just standard MausApe though. Like MausApe plus Sinistcha is something we've seen a lot in the past, so not really much to talk about. But the rest is really cool, right? Like the Blood Moon, again, not a Pokemon we see often on MausApe cores, but again, it makes a lot of sense with the Zoroark option here. It also pairs really nicely under Chirkin with Sinistcha. Instant here is just a really good support piece. I think that with a team like this, you lack a lot of bulk outside of Sinistcha and Maushold. So Instant here just allows you to check a lot of things. Also, side spam. I think that these MausApe teams with no expanding force switches can be often weak to expanding force. So having a dark type to swap into Indeedee Mail and Sneasler makes it very valuable, right? So yeah, really impressive team here from the Hodge brothers, and it's not a team I really want to face myself. It's just so many mind games, and they are really good with mind games. Just this team just forces so many coin flips, and that's why it makes it so good. Ninth team I have on this list is Seawolf Mike's Rank 1 BO1 team. Julian also took his team to Frankfurt to finish in top 16 of it. So yeah, this was also like a strong BO1 team that translates over into BO3. This team also had a lot of success last format too, kind of a more different build, but he did really well in the GC with this team as well. So in like hindsight, it looks like a standard Rain team, right? But you have Scarf Pelipper again here, and you also have the Power Herb Arch, which is like not often seen. And you also have a Terrifying Goldengo. That's not Terra Blast, but still Terra-fighting. So I think that this is like a very underrated tech on it, like this Terrifying Goldengo. That's why I kind of want to highlight it. Also highlighting Scarf Pelipper again. So some underrated pieces here. I think that sometimes Goldengo teams often lack speed control, so having a Scarf Pelipper here with Tailwind can make you outspeed a lot of things. You also make Arch outspeed kind of every fasting as well. Your other speed control option on this team is with Sneasler. The Seed Sneasler set also on Frankfurt, and we're seeing a lot more usage of it. I see Wolf here kind of opt for Throat Chop just for coverage. You can also run Sword Stance, but I think Throat Chop makes a lot of sense on a team like this, right? Instant Rilla, can't go wrong with that, right? You have a lot of good modes to support your Sneasler mode and your Goldengo mode here, right? With this double fake out duel. So yeah, just want to highlight it because I think that this is one of the more slept on teams in the format, and it has kind of proven success by just one player and had that result at Frankfurt here as well, right? Last team here, I have the top 8 GC Dozo team. It also had a top cut here in VR from Marcus Ko. And Marcus Ko has kind of been using this team a lot. Also, believe been working with a lot of the big Dozo players. And again, with that top 16 Frankfurt result here as well, right? And there's a lot of unique pieces about this team, right? On hindsight, it looks like just your standard DozoGiri core with Indeedee Sneasler, but Indeedee has Fake Out. I think that Fake Out on Indeedee is really cool at stopping Dragonite from moving, because DozoGiri usually struggles versus Haze Dragonite. So Fake Out could stop that Dragonite from moving for one turn, and unless you Sneasler to hit it, right? So I think that's a really cool combo here. Also have a Terra Normal Annihilate here, which is not often seen, but I think Terra Normal is really neat at resisting Rage Fist, or being immune to Rage Fist actually from Hose Annihilate. Also endgaming Last Respects Basc HO a lot more often, right? So that's kind of a cool Terra type here. You have a coaching mode with a Dragonite here, and you also have Final Gambit for kind of mind games, right? Also removing just strong Trick Room setters immediately, which is really good. Dragonite here is the Terra Steel stats. It is Scale Shot and Stopping Tantrum with Tailwind. Tailwind's really nice to give this team more reliable speed control outside of Sneasler and Dozo, right? Dozo gets a +2. But one thing to note is that Marcus's version that he ran in VR actually had T-Wave Dragonite. So they had Tailwind at Frankfurt in the GC, but Thunderwave here is a Unarn UD Tet. I'm not so sure if it's any better than Tailwind, but it did top 8 this tournament here, right? So it has some use cases, right? I'm guessing Thunderwave is really good at kind of having permanent speed control, because sometimes your opponent can stall a Tailwind. So interesting tech piece here. DozoGiri itself, I think it's like a lot of Dragonites are starting to drop Haze. And I also think that if you have strong options to remove Haze Pokemon like Final Gambit, it allows Dozo to really thrive. So yeah, I think that of all of those teams in the format, this is probably the best version of it. And that's the only reason why I have Dozo on the list, because this Dozo team has continued results. And I think if you want to play Dozo in this format, this is probably the single best way to do it. DozoGiri here, I made Jolly, because I think Jolly is really important to outspeed Ninetales in the format, and also getting the creep of some of the slower Pokemon normal that you wouldn't outspeed with Adamant. Tuttle here is Terra Fairy, which is really nice for Scale Shot, because I mentioned earlier, Scale Shot Dragonite is usually the biggest weakness of Dozo, so you want a lot of options to deal with it. So Fairy Terra here, Final Gambit Ape here, and like Fake Out Indeedee to stop it from moving, right? So yeah, a lot of ways to kind of get around Dragonite. And yeah, that's my list of the most underrated teams in this format. A lot of like kind of niche Pokemon or niche techs that I think you can expect to see more in the future. Regular H is just such a vast format that not only the standard stuff does well, right? Like there's a lot of crazy stuff that has one tournament, like you see with Pengy here, one Victory Road here, Blaziken, and even made finals, right? And yeah, these teams, I think that if you want to be a little out there or maybe have some inspiration on using some unique picks on your future teams for H, hopefully that this video helped you here. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video, and I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.